Have you ever wondered if the ancient Philistines mentioned in the Bible and the modern Palestinians are connected? In this video, we'll uncover the fascinating story of the Philistines, powerful warriors who clashed with Israel's greatest heroes like Samson and David. We'll explore how their military might and iron weapons gave them the upper hand, and how their religious practices put them at odds with the Israelites' faith in Yahweh. You'll also learn how these fierce enemies of Israel disappeared from history after the Babylonian conquest, fulfilling ancient prophecies. But what about the Palestinians? Today, they are part of one of the world's most complex and enduring political conflicts. From the rise of a Palestinian national identity during the British Mandate, to the ongoing struggle for statehood and self-determination, we'll dive into how biblical prophecies about the nations surrounding Israel might relate to the present-day conflict. Are these two groups connected, or is it just a matter of shared geography and similar-sounding names? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a conversation about what these stories mean for the region today. First, let's learn about the Philistia people in history and the Bible. The Philistines, a prominent ancient people, are often highlighted in the Old Testament as Israel's fiercest adversaries. Their settlements stretched across the coastal regions of Canaan, now known as modern-day Gaza, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Ekron, and Gath. By the 12th century BC, the Philistines had established their power base in Philistia, situated along the coastal plains of southern Canaan. Historians often categorize the Philistines as part of the Sea Peoples, a coalition of seafaring raiders that wreaked havoc across the eastern Mediterranean during the Late Bronze Age. Scholars suggest that the Philistines originated from the Aegean region, possibly Crete or other Mediterranean areas, before settling along the southern coast of Canaan. The Philistines' mastery of iron metallurgy granted them a decisive military edge, particularly over the Israelites, who lagged behind in weapon technology. In the Bible, the Philistines are depicted as pagans, venerating gods like Dagon, Baal, and Ashtaroth. The Philistines' polytheistic practices clash starkly with Israel's monotheistic worship of Yahweh. The stark religious divide fueled many of their confrontations, with the Israelites viewing the Philistines as enemies of God, frequently invoking divine judgment against them. So what are the important biblical stories related to the Philistia people? Let's find out in the next part. An early and memorable story about the Philistines appears in Judges, detailing the exploits of Samson, an Israelite judge. Famed for his immense strength, Samson wielded it against the Philistines. Samson's climactic act, demolishing Dagon's temple and killing thousands, stands as a striking symbol of the animosity between Israel and Philistia. The most renowned confrontation with the Philistines in the Bible is, without a doubt, the battle between David and Goliath. A young David, destined to be Israel's king, bravely stepped up and defeated Goliath using only a sling and a stone. This victory became a pivotal moment in Israel's battle against the Philistines, demonstrating that with God's power, even the greatest challenges can be overcome. The Philistines are often depicted as harsh oppressors of Israel. In 1 Samuel, the Philistines defeat Israel and seize the Ark of the Covenant. But God's judgment falls upon the Philistines for desecrating the Ark, forcing them to return it after enduring devastating plagues. These accounts highlight the consistent theme of God's intervention against the Philistines throughout Scripture. How the military strength and strategic advantage of the Philistines is shown in history and Scripture. The Bible portrays the Philistines as a militant people whose strength in warfare is repeatedly emphasized. Their iron weaponry provided them with a technological advantage over the Israelites, who lacked broad access to iron tools. The Philistine military was well organized, with their 5 key cities, Ashkelon, Ashdod, Gaza, Ekron, and Gath, forming a pentapolis. In addition to their iron weapons, the Philistines were renowned for their use of chariots in warfare. The book of Judges highlights Israel's fear of the Philistines' chariots and their difficulties in countering these formidable war machines. The Philistines' dominance over vital trade routes further bolstered their strength and influence. Situated along the Mediterranean's coastal highways, the Philistines controlled both commercial and military activities in the area. With their cities evolving into bustling centers of commerce, the Philistines amassed wealth and power. This made them even more challenging foes for Israel, whose economy was rooted in agriculture. What led to the downfall and demise of the Philistines? The Philistines played a significant role throughout Israel's early history, from the era of the Judges to the reigns of King Saul and King David. King Saul waged numerous battles against the Philistines, but his inability to decisively defeat them contributed to his downfall. Saul's reign ended tragically with his death at the hands of the Philistines during the Battle of Mount Gilboa. The death of Saul's son, Jonathan, in the same battle underscored the grave threat the Philistines posed to Israel's leadership. Israel only began to gain the upper hand over the Philistines with David's ascent to power. Following his triumph over Goliath, David rose to prominence as a military leader and later became king of Israel. Though the Philistines lingered in the region, they were eventually subdued by greater empires, most notably the Babylonians in the 6th century BC. The Babylonian conquest of Philistia signaled the demise of the Philistines as a unique people group. When the Roman Empire emerged, the Philistines had already faded from existence. Following the Bar Kokhba revolt, the Romans renamed the land Palestine. The prophet Amos proclaimed, "For 3 transgressions of Gaza, and for 4 I will not revoke the punishment." Zephaniah states, "Woe to you who dwell by the sea, I will annihilate you and none will remain." These prophetic words were realized with the rise of Babylon and other empires, which laid waste to Philistine cities, erasing their culture and ending their existence. After the era of decline, who are modern Palestinians? Jump ahead by millennia to the 20th century, and we find ourselves facing the Palestinians. Palestinians are a modern Arab people who reside in the region historically known as Palestine, encompassing present-day Israel, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip. The term Palestinian describes the Arab population that has historically inhabited this region, especially under the Ottoman Empire and the British Mandate of Palestine. The contemporary Israeli-Palestinian conflict is primarily political, centered on issues of land, statehood, and identity. The conflict intensified following the establishment of Israel in 1948. Unlike the biblical Philistines, Palestinians are not ancient foes of Israel. They are a modern people involved in a protracted political struggle over territorial rights. And where did the name Palestine come from? The name Palestine traces its origins to Roman times, when Emperor Hadrian renamed the region after the Bar Kokhba revolt. Hadrian rechristened Judea as Palestina, drawing from Philistia, the land of the ancient Philistines, Israel's age-old enemies mentioned in the Old Testament. This renaming aimed to sever Jewish ties to the region by invoking the name of the long-vanished Philistines. Although the name Palestine has ancient roots, the modern Palestinian people are ethnically Arab and unrelated to the Philistines of the Bible. The widespread use of the term Palestinian only emerged in the 20th century during the British Mandate of Palestine. As the local Arab population began to identify closely with the land in response to the rising Zionist movement and increased Jewish immigration, how did the identity and conflicts of the Palestinian people evolve alongside the development of the world? A unique Palestinian identity began to form in the early 20th century, especially during the British Mandate of Palestine, which followed the fall of the Ottoman Empire after World War I. During Ottoman rule, Palestine was part of a vast empire, with its inhabitants lacking a distinct national identity. The Arab population, comprising Muslims, Christians, and Druze, identified mainly with the broader Arab world, maintaining strong tribal, religious, and familial bonds. As Jewish immigration surged, especially after the Balfour Declaration endorsed the creation of a national home for the Jewish people in Palestine, the local Arab population began mobilizing politically against Zionism. Amid the growing wave of Arab nationalism sweeping the Middle East, Palestinian Arabs began to identify as a distinct group. They united by a shared goal: to oppose the establishment of a Jewish state and preserve their claim to their ancestral land. What intense conflicts are currently taking place between Israel and Palestine? The growing tensions between Jews and Arabs during this period erupted into riots, violence, and political turmoil. When the British Mandate concluded in 1948, a larger conflict over Palestine's future was inevitable. Most Palestinians are Muslim, with the majority adhering to Sunni Islam. A noteworthy minority of Palestinian Christians live in cities such as Bethlehem, Ramallah, and East Jerusalem. Palestinian Christians have made valuable contributions to the political and social structure of Palestinian society, though their population has diminished over time due to immigration and conflict-related pressures. Today, Palestinians are scattered across the West Bank, the Gaza Strip, and a widespread diaspora in countries like Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, and others. The Palestinian Authority, created through the Oslo Accords, governs parts of the West Bank, while Hamas, an Islamist political and militant group, holds control over the Gaza Strip. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict continues to be a focal issue in global politics, with nations and international bodies striving to achieve peace and stability in the region. The Palestinian pursuit of self-determination, statehood, and national identity remains among the most pressing, unresolved conflicts of our time. So how have the prophecies in the Bible unfolded? What do they guide us toward? Though the Philistines vanished as a distinct people, as foretold in biblical prophecy, the Palestinians persist as a key element in today's political landscape. Prophets predicted the Philistines' downfall as divine retribution for their idolatry and oppression of Israel. This prophecy came to pass through the conquests led by Babylon and other empires. Although the Bible does not explicitly mention the Palestinians, it does refer to nations surrounding Israel in its end-time prophecies. Many interpret these prophecies as references to the persistent struggles over Jerusalem and the future of Israel. Though the Palestinians are not the same as the Philistines, they play a role in the present-day political realities tied to these biblical prophecies. While the names Philistines and Palestinians sound alike, their histories, identities, and roles are worlds apart. The Philistines were an ancient people who opposed Israel during biblical times, but eventually vanished from the historical record. In contrast, Palestinians are modern-day Arabs engaged in a political struggle for land and statehood in the Middle East. Now that you know the distinctions between these groups, what are your thoughts on how the Bible portrays them and the implications for the region today? There is still so much we can discover from the Bible. Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's dive into the discussion. Thank you for watching.